Your astounding appearance, Dolly, do you ever get tired of bosom jokes? I mean, a lot of them are your own, of course.
Oh, not really, because I know people, don't mean to be cruel about it, and I can't very well be offended if somebody wants to make a joke about it, because I leave them out there for people to see, and I've made more jokes about it than anybody. It doesn't matter to me as long as people also realize that I'm a human being, that I'm very sensitive and very caring, and that I have talent as well. And like I say, I don't mind what they say about all the hair and the boobs, as long as they know I've got a brain beneath the wig and a heart beneath the boobs. And I think once I, talk to people for any amount of time, they realize that. So no, I don't get offended. I had fun with it for all the years that I've been in the business. So, like I say, I have my own jokes. I always say that I'm the only person that ever left the Smoky Mountains and took them with her.
Dolly, you're a real-life Cinderella. Now, how poor were you?
Well, I grew up in the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. I grew up in a family of 12 children. There's 6 girls and 6 boys, and there's
Remember
8...
their names? Give me their names.
Willadine, David... This is in order, all of us. Willadine, David, Denver, Dolly, Bobby, Stella, Cassie, Randy, Larry, Floyd, Frida, and Rachel. I think that's all of us.
Well, you were in there somewhere. Where did you come into that?
I have a sister and 2 brothers older, and there's 8 children younger than me. So I'm 4th from the top.
And you washed in the creek and all that. Was it possible to be happy to be that poor?
You know, we were happy. We had a lot of hard times, but we didn't know we were poor till some smart aleck up and told us. You know, but that was just a way of life back there. And I always wanted things. We knew we didn't have money. But we didn't judge life by money at that time, because we were mountain people, country people. We raised our own food. We lived on a farm. We canned our own food. And about the only thing we ever bought from the grocery store was coffee and sugar. Everything else we knew how to make, how to grow, how to prepare. And that's always a good comforting feeling for me now. I think if something should happen, the worst should happen, and I couldn't make it in the business, or if the bottom fell out of the country, or there was a Great Depression, I would at least know how to raise a garden, how to take care of myself and the people close to me. At least I would know how to do that.
Well, you were already all bust and bright colours by that time. Apart from the Cinderella thing, did you model yourself on anybody?
Well, no, I always wanted to take great pride in who I was. I was a very moral person, although I looked very trashy. But I really was not as trashy as I looked. But I didn't want to, I never intended to sell my body, to sell myself cheap, or anything like that. I wanted to make it on my talents, so I didn't want to ever have to be in that position. I would have still been able to have raised a garden and gone home if I'd had to. But I can always honestly say that I can always take pride in the way that I've made it in the business. I have treated myself with respect, and I have been respected by the people in the business.
But when you started and got this image, even as a very young girl, people got the wrong impression, I suppose.
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, before I left home, a lot of my girlfriends, their mothers didn't like them to hang around with me because they thought I was a bad influence, because I wore my clothes real tight and I wore makeup, and I started bleaching my hair as soon as I could find a way to get some bleach. Of course, I was blonde, but my hair started to turn dishwater blonde when I was 15 or 16, so I just had this cheap look. And the mothers would say, she's a bad influence, I don't want you hanging around with her. And I was as good as I could be. I told bad jokes and funny jokes. I mean, anything for a laugh. But my friends were the ones sleeping in the back seats with the boys and doing all the things that I looked like I might be doing. So all these, goody-goody girls.
It's like the Harper Valley PTA all over again. Yeah.
So it really was... it kind of had its effect on some of the people there, but like I say, once people got to know me and talk to me for a few minutes, they realized there was more to me than that.
Now, you've worked with some glamorous men in films, Burt Reynolds and Stallone, of course. Are they your kind of men? Well,
I never met a man I didn't like. So I'm sort of like Will Rogers in that respect. I like men. I like the heart and soul of a human being. And of a man. So I've liked men that were short and fat and bald and young and old. So I liked them all, but certainly Stallone and Burt are very handsome, and I felt very fortunate to be able to work with them, not just because of the way they looked, but because of the way they are. I liked them both very much, and we had a real good time doing the show. Burt, of course, is kind of a country boy, and we're very similar in a lot of ways, so we had a lot of fun. Stallone is from New York, and we had totally different lifestyles, but we were both very creative and fun-loving, and he was an inspiration to be around, because when I worked with him, it was just after I came out of that illness and the problems that I'd been having. That was my first project back, and I'd been off work for about 18 months. So being around him and the way that he takes care of his body, and during our lunch hour, he'd be lifting weights and eating the best of food. And so I would look at him and I would think, you know, we're the same exact age. You know, I should be getting smarter about taking care of myself. So they were nice in many ways, and good and healthy for me, but certainly not bad to look at either.
What about your husband? Is he jealous?
No, he's not. I think we've been together so long. I met my husband the first day I went to Nashville in 1964, and we've been together ever since. And we've become great friends. He respects what I do. He's not interested in it from the business end.
Because he's never seen, is he?
No, he likes to be very private. He's with me more than the press would lead you to believe, and they never see him, so they assume we're never together, but we are. But he does not like the limelight, and he's not jealous. He's always telling me who he thinks that I would work well with. And I have a television show back in the States, a network variety show, and so I have lots of guests on. And there was a segment when we first started called Dolly's Date, and it was like in the penthouse where I would have a different movie star hunk, you know, one of those good-looking men come every night, and, you know, it's kind of a little comedy thing. And so he would always tell me who he thought that I should have on, who he thought I would, you know, work well with. So, no, he's not jealous. And
is he romantic, though, with you?
Well, in his way, he's a country boy. He's very sweet and romantic. He writes me poems occasionally, and he does things at odd times. So that's romantic to me. It's like when I don't expect him to do anything, but sometimes he does, and that's romantic. He's very kind, and he's very good to me. And I've never doubted his love, and he's never doubted mine. So we've been together this long. It's my first marriage and his first marriage, and until one of us dies, that's the way it's going to be.
And is this image going to be yours for the rest of your life as well?
Lord, I hope so. Because, like I say, I enjoy it. I love dressing up. I just, I'm that much like a kid still. I just like all this stuff. I like wearing lipsticks and makeup and fingernail polishes and stuff. So
well, you still only look about 12, really. Now, the fans are never...
See, that's what they meant when they said you were a nice guy.
Well, there's a lot more where that came from, but...